because the reporter was clearly trying to get him to say it because he was like, "Was there any challenges out there that you were facing?"
Yeah.
In the end, and the answer is yes. The 44, and I was telling you that I missed the old days because the old drivers would have been like, "Are there any challenges?" Like, yeah, the damn son of a bitch, is 2 laps down over here trying to get. I put him in the wall. Like, I miss the old days.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of Mildly Alarmed from the Pit. As always, I'm your host, Nina, here with my co-host Justin, and we have some interesting races to talk about this week in Kansas. What do you think?
Well, I was really looking forward to Kansas. Kansas is one of my favorite, has become one of my favorite stops on the track just because it usually provides some exciting racing. But I don't think we got that per se this year. I think I think the both of the races were kind of a little lackluster, except for the very end of the race today in the Cup Series. But I do think that there's been better Kansas races. But I do like going to Kansas because it usually offers a place to pass because of the 3, 4 wide racing that you can get where the top is good, the bottom, the middle. But for some reason, I don't know. I just don't think we saw what we typically see out of Kansas, but I did enjoy the races. I did enjoy both of them overall. I just think races in the past at Kansas have been better
Mm.
than what I saw for the
Yeah,
spring race.
it was an interesting weekend for sure. The kids caused a billion crashes in the
They sure
O'Reilly
did.
race. The Cup race was pretty uneventful except for the last like 11 laps or so.
Hmm.
Uh, so which one should we start with? Should we start the O'Reilly race?
Yeah, let's start with the kids. They were definitely doing goofy things, as Bill Elliott would say. They were doing goofy things. And there was a ton of cautions. That race felt like it took forever just because they couldn't really seem to get going. I think one of the longest green flag runs they had of the night was about 25 laps without incident. So that kind of killed, I think, the pacing of the race. The race, though, got started off in a big way with a huge crash right there. What was it, lap two? Or
Was
was
it
it the
even lap
first lap?
two?
Was it the
I feel like
first
it was the
lap?
first lap. I think it was the first lap.
Yeah, big crash involving Carson Quapple. He led from the pole, didn't get going really well on the restart, and they kind of swallowed him up. And then when they got to the backstretch, I think it was William Byron who was driving the 88 for Junior Motorsports this week, got into Carson Quapple, sent him rolling upside down. Really scary crash. He flipped a few times going down the backstretch, landed upside down. They had to red flag the race. So right off the bat, we started with the car airborne and
Yeah,
having to red flag the race for 12 minutes while they flipped the car back over and get Carson out of the car. He was fine.
he
Um,
was. But let's pause for a second
sure.
on the fact that William Byron caused the pole sitter, correct? He was the pole sitter,
He
was he
was the
not?
pole sitter. Carson Quapple was the pole sitter.
To crash out of the race in the first lap. Like, I'm sorry, but if you're a cup driver and you are going down to the truck series or the O'Reilly series, you should have the cleanest race of
Don't
your
want to cause
life
any
unless
trouble.
the kids are getting into you.
Yeah. I
But
think
like
that's the,
there was nothing wrong with what Carson Quapple was doing at that point. Like Byron moved up into him, I think, and then he got hit again from behind, and that's what caused him to just like spin right down the
yeah.
racetrack.
Do you know how they were telling Cletus, don't be the story? I
Yeah.
feel like sometimes when other drivers go to other leagues, that same advice should apply. Like, don't be the story. And um, unless they're winning, because that's really what they put Cup drivers in the lower series to do is just to go out and win, because they're not racing for points. It's not like they're
Yeah, or
trying
to
to be
help a
like,
team learn about a car or
yeah,
something
help a
like that.
team like come back with data and be like, yo, I drove this car. Here's what I felt as a
Yeah.
Cup driver. Here's what I think you could do to make this thing faster. That's really all they're out there to do. So I feel like William Byron causing that at the start, and that wasn't his only time that he he had a run in with a
No.
couple of dudes putting him in the wall. So I mean, yeah, he was definitely. I don't know if it's just that like a lack of experience from driving those type of cars because those cars are very different than the Cup car. So I don't know if he just wasn't used to that, but he definitely he was flailing a little bit out there. It
Yeah,
seemed, and sent Carson flying.
he did. He
Carson Koppel
looked
got his
he
first
he
upside down
looked
crash.
really. I feel like Byron looked really loose for most of the race. Not to say that he was the only one. I think we saw a lot of the kids last night. Just
Sliding
the
around.
cars just sliding down the racetrack. It looked really wobbly.
Yeah, I know I saw Allgaier a few times. Watching him, I know I could see the back of that car fishtailing a little bit, especially coming out of two. I think a lot of people are having um, trouble coming out of two and kind of like sliding up and kind of getting into the wall, going down the backstretch a little bit. Coming out of those corners did look pretty precarious. And then I think numerous drivers were talking about loose getting in. That feeling, the car felt really light getting into the corner. Um, Tires also played a really big role in this week. That's always fun. I always like tire races, but you could definitely tell that I think because those tires are wearing down, um, drivers had their hands full. But we saw, but the Xfinity race, the O'Reilly race as it got going, um, did turn into something that was pretty interesting there at the end. Taylor Gray used pit strategy to get out front, um, kind of short pitting it a little bit, gets out front. Sheldon Creed is coming with fresher tires because Taylor Gray was out there longer before Sheldon made his pit stop. And although short pitting, and the reason why this works for new listeners who are new to racing, the reason why this works is if you have fresher tires, you go faster.
Hmm.
So if you pit before everyone else, so say you're running fourth and you pit before everyone else, you're going to lose that track position. But when you get back out there, you're going to have fresher tires, which means you can go faster than the cars that haven't pitted yet and have a chance to leapfrog those positions. That's what Taylor Gray kind of did. That's what we saw in the Cup race too. And that strategy did work out because Sheldon Creed was coming with fresher tires and he wasn't able to catch Taylor Gray because he had built such a strong lead out in front that Sheldon Creed couldn't eat into it. So Taylor Gray wins his second career race. Um, and the JGR gets their second win of the year in the O'Reilly Series that has been dominated mostly by junior motorsports teams.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the finish of the race was pretty good. Sheldon Creed did try his hardest to get out there those
I like
last
him.
final laps, but I feel like the minus all the cautions, the races that we saw were very similar.
Mhm.
Like there weren't a ton of lead changes.
Mhm.
There was just a lot of laps until like the very end when you saw maybe a few lead changes or what have you. But like any of the lead changes in the O'Reilly series seemed largely due to cautions.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say that both races, they weren't like compelling races this week, which is a shame because, like I said, Kansas is one that I usually kind of circle as like, this could be fun. This could be a fun week of racing right here.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it. I didn't get it. Um, the finishes were fun, but I feel like both races didn't really get compelling until 20 to go. But you had to
Yeah.
sit through logging laps and to get there. But the payoff was there. Um, the seeing if Sheldon Creed could run down the leader was fun. And Brendan Poole almost gave a win to Sheldon Creed. He was a lap down car and would not get out of the way. Um, Taylor Gray was really mad at the 44 Brendan Poole on the radio for not getting out of his way. I was kind of hoping he would talk a little bit about it in his post race interview, but he chickened out. I was telling you, I said I miss the old days of racing when they would have been like, was there? Because the reporter was clearly trying to get him to say it because he was like, was there any challenges out there that you were facing?
Yeah.
In the end, and the answer is yes. The 44, and I was telling you that I missed the old days because the old drivers would have been like, "Are there any challenges?" Like, yeah, the damn son of a bitch, 2 laps down over here trying to. I put him in the wall. Like I miss the old days, but Taylor Gray was like, "No, everything's great, everything's fine. We it was just, things were hard out there, but I stayed through it and persevered, and here we are with the win." It's like, come on, man. Talk about how much you hate Brendan Poole. Tell us how much you hate Brendan Poole. Like,
Well, I suppose if you win, at that point, you're not really thinking about
true. I
the
mean, yeah, you
BS you had to
win, so
drive through to
it's
get there.
if he would have lost, if he would
Yeah.
have come in second, he might have been like, "That damn son of a bitch, Brendan Poole, I'm gonna put him in the wall next time I see him." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But because he won, he was like, "Ah, well." At the end of the day, I won. No harm, no foul. So Taylor
Well,
Gray, though, getting the win is pretty cool because he's one that I think I've expected I think a few people have expected him to be better than he has been. You know, he's
mm,
very young, and I think they were thinking that he would come out and kind of win a bunch of races. He's the one who replaced uh, Ty Gibbs when he went to the Cup Series. So I think, and Ty Gibbs had won a ton of races, in that car. And I think a lot of people were thinking that Taylor Gray would pick up where Ty Gibbs left off. And he kind of hasn't, but this could be the turn. So he wins his second race. So he's won a race before, but he gets his second race here. So good job for him. Good job for him.
yeah, for sure. Well, we may not have gotten a feud in the O'Reilly race, but we certainly had one coming into the Cup race. There was some, I feel like it was a little bit of a manufactured media feud
I feel like it was
between
too.
Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch.
Yeah. That was kind of the big story. Um, because during the Bristol race, the crew chief and the spotter got into a fight, a tussle, not a fight, but they had an argument, a disagreement over the radio and about what they should do with the car. The crew chief was wanting information, but he was asking the spotter, and the spotter was basically like, "Look, man, I just spot. I don't know what to tell you about how to get the car to go faster." And it kind of just showed, listening to it, it kind of showed the problems with RCR, that like no one over there, the morale is so low over there that no one's working together as a team, is what I took away from it.
Yeah.
Because when I heard it, I was like kind of listening to it like, ooh, like this just sounds like no one over there is gelling. They're not on the same wavelength. And that led, people to talk about Kyle Busch, his performance. He's clearly underperforming. He's Kyle Busch. He's won 63 NASCAR races, but he's now gone at least 2 years, I think, without winning one of them. So he's in a slump,
Mhm.
and it's just he's not performing like we're used to seeing Kyle Busch perform. He's finishing. I mean, it's a miracle if he finishes top 20. They'll say, "Hey, look, he finished 19th. Wow." And that's not like great. Like, you know what I mean? Like, um, and so Denny Hamlin, who arguably, even though he's, and I mean this with respect, probably the oldest current running driver out there, besides Kyle Busch, they're the two new veterans now,
Yeah.
which makes me feel old because I remember when they were both rookies. But, but, here they are. They're the two oldest drivers in the field, and Denny Hamlin is running better than he's run in arguably in his career. He's won
Yeah.
61 races. He's encroaching on passing Kyle Busch for the most wins. So he's on his podcast, and all he said was, I mean, he even started with saying that Kyle Busch is still his Mount Rushmore when Denny Hamlin thinks of drivers. Kyle Busch is still there, and he should be. But he just said that Busch isn't performing well and that his teammate is running better. Austin Dillon's getting better finishes than him.
Mm,
And
yeah.
he was basically saying that since they switched to the next gen car, Kyle Busch just might not have figured out yet how to consistently get speed out of that car. Is that a bad thing? What I just said?
No, I mean, I wouldn't really take offense to that. And if I were Colin Bush, I'd probably have to agree if I look at my own finishes.
Well, Kyle Busch took offense to it.
Yeah.
And
But
he
don't you
said,
think he took offense to probably the way in which he was asked the question by the reporter. That's my
Probably.
problem with this feud this week. Was like the reporter was like, Denny Hamlin bashed you on his podcast, Actions
It's like he
Gentlemental.
didn't.
What do you
Yeah,
have to say about that?
true. Because he did bash him. He just said that like, hey, this dude is on my Mount Rushmore. His teammate is running better than him, so the problem is with that team specifically. Because Austin
Mm,
Dillon is running the same way Austin Dillon has always run. So I mean, like,
sure.
there's been no difference there, right? But with Kyle Busch, he's losing to his teammate Austin Dillon consistently, and he just said like, hey, he might not know how to get speed out of this new next gen car. He just might not have figured out to tell the crew chief like, okay, for me to go faster in this car, this is what I need you to do. This is
Yeah.
what I'm expecting. He just might not know. Um, but Kyle Busch was like saying, he said, I wish, I would love for Denny Hamlin to get in my car and let's see what he can do. Basically saying like Denny Hamlin gets in my car, he ain't gonna be Billy Badass. He's with JGR. You know,
Mm.
that was basically what Kyle Busch. And he said something, I can make his life living hell. And I was thinking to myself, like, in what way can you make his life a living hell? Because the only way that you're going to be around Denny Hamlin is when he's putting you a lap down, which happened today. He put him a couple of laps down. So
I
I
don't
don't
know
really.
the history here. So how did Kyle Busch end up on this team?
So funny thing, Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin were teammates,
Okay.
and there's some rumors around like what kind of happened there. I know that like Kyle Busch was losing a sponsor, a longtime sponsor was leaving, but
And this is at JGR.
this is at JGR. Because
Okay.
Denny Hamlin's only ever driven the 11 car, which is, by the way, that's unfounded in NASCAR to have one car that you drive for your entire career.
Yeah.
But Denny Hamlin's only ever driven for Joe Gibbs Racing in the 11. But Kyle Busch was in the 18. And then they were losing a sponsor, but a lot of people were thinking, speculating that they were kicking Kyle Busch out so they could make room for his grandson, which added to some of the silver
Hate.
spoon stuff,
Yeah. For
you know?
Ty Gibbs.
Anyway, Kyle Busch leaves Joe Gibbs Racing to go to RCR to drive the 8. And when he first got there, they had success. He won a race, put RCR back in victory lane, won a race with them. But since it just hasn't, something over there isn't working. Something over there isn't
Yeah.
working. But that's kind of Kyle Busch was Denny Hamlin's teammate. And I don't know what their relationship was like. I don't know if there was contention, if Kyle Busch maybe feels that Denny Hamlin gets special treatment. Because, Joe Gibbs and Denny Hamlin are really tight. They're really close.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
Joe
you would
Gibbs,
be if you worked for somebody for that long.
that's what I was going to say. Like, Joe Gibbs was the one, Denny Hamlin's story is pretty incredible because most drivers these days come from money because racing is very expensive. It's why I couldn't be a race car driver, right? We don't have that kind of money or resources to go racing.
Millions of dollars worth of
Millions of
money.
dollars. And a
Yeah.
lot of these race car drivers these days are sons of former race car drivers or people who have connections or people who their dads own some great company and they end up sponsoring the car and giving the money. This is the way it is. Denny Hamlin, however, came from nothing and his parents mortgaged their house and like sold stuff to make sure that Denny Hamlin, their son, could go racing. And Joe Gibbs was the guy who took the chance on him. And Denny Hamlin has repaid Joe Gibbs by like never leaving the team and being a part of that team since he was a rookie. He has been there through thick and thin, through the good times of JGR, through the bad times of JGR.
And they
Denny
still have a
Hamlin's
partnership with JGR at 2311.
exactly. So I mean, you know, maybe Kyle Busch just felt like I don't know. I don't know how Kyle Busch feels. I don't know Kyle Busch, but I don't want to say how Kyle Busch feels. But as a fan, as we're fans doing that's just I don't know. That's my take. That's my take on it. But I don't think Denny Hamlin said. And Denny Hamlin, that's another thing. Denny Hamlin's always been a guy who's been straight up. Like
Yeah.
he tells it like it is, which is for the longest time why I didn't like him.
That's why I love him.
Fans, people listening to this, when I started dating Nina, I told her, I said, you can pull for anybody you want to, except for Joe Gibbs Racing and Denny Hamlin.
Now, to be fair, I pulled for Joe Logano for a little bit because, from Connecticut, but then he pissed me off. So now I moved over to Denny Hamlin, mostly because we have listened to Action is Gentlemen now, Denny Hamlin's podcast, for the better part of the last year and a half, and I
Yeah.
actually really do like his insight and his takes on things. And
Well,
I think besides watching sports with you, Denny Hamlin's the other person that has made NASCAR interesting for me.
mm,
I mean, DBC is funny.
it
North
is
on the
funny.
Clear,
Yeah.
great podcast. And listening to Dale Jr., obviously, also great. And I love the interviews that he does with old drivers and stuff like that.
Me
I mean, those are
too.
really great.
Very special.
But Denny Hamlin kind of has the market cornered on interesting race insights from both a driver and an owner's perspective. So um, I just found him to be the most interesting person out there at the moment.
It's kind of funny for the reasons why I never was a Denny Hamlin fan. I became a Denny Hamlin fan. I didn't like how cocky and arrogant he seemed when he would do his interviews. Just how like he would say the true something that he felt was true, whether it was true or not. He just believed it. He would speak his truth, and
Yeah,
it came off as what an
douchey.
asshole. Yeah,
Yeah,
but when he started doing his podcast, and I started listening to him and just knowing learning more of who he was as a person, and that's just who he is. He just if he has a thought in his head and he thinks it, he's just going to say it.
yeah,
There's a respect, I think, that comes with that, and he is very knowledgeable, and he explains, even for someone like me who's been watching the sport pretty much my entire life, my entire life. I there's things that he explains that I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. That's really cool. Like I never thought about racing from that perspective before. Or and because
yeah,
he's done so much, he's won races. He is a race car driver, and he also is a team owner now. So he can come at it from like, here's an ownership side of it, a business side of it, and here's the racing side of it. So yeah, his podcast is truly fascinating, and that's another thing I think Kyle Busch. My whole point with that is that's another thing I think Kyle Busch needs to take with this is that like he's just saying what he thinks to be true. And he wasn't saying that Kyle Busch is a terrible race car driver. We all know Kyle Busch is not a terrible race car driver,
yeah,
but something at that team is off, and Kyle Busch is clearly off. And how do we
yeah.
get Kyle Busch to victory lane so Rowdy Nation can finally celebrate with a win? Let's.
The DBC listeners know what we're talking about.
Exactly. DVC listeners
But
will know what that means. But
but no, Kyle Busch still did pretty bad today. He did have a chance to wreck Denny Hamlin as Denny lapped him. We didn't see really any of that. I don't even think he put up that much of a fight, to be honest. We saw
just
other
let him
people put
go.
up way more of a fight during the race.
Yeah, Kyle Busch
Um,
finished 35th today out of 37.
who were the last two?
Shane Van Gisbergen finished 36, and Cody Ware finished 37th after spinning out with 2 laps to go.
Where did Zillage finish, out of curiosity?
Connor Zilic did rebound because he was running when the start of the
He
start of
was
the race. I made a
literally
comment.
dead last.
I know. I was like, look at Connor Zilic. He's running dead last. He ended up 29th. He finished ahead of Joey Logano. I tell you, Joey
Sorry.
Logano, that's another guy that's having
What a rough season he's
a
having.
rough year.
Yeah.
What is going on? Penske as a whole, though,
Maybe
like
that hair was all the luck he had. Now it's gone.
it's
It's
gone.
not coming back. The luck is gone with it.
Yeah. The funniest, this is a side note, but the funniest thing I ever saw at a race, I was going into the stands and there was a guy that was walking in beside me and he had this sign with him and he had it on a stick and he was holding it up and he had a toupee stuck to it and it said Joey Logano's hairpiece. It was the funniest thing I'd ever seen going into a race.
All right, I know we're
But
ragging on Joey Logano, but Joey also has given us one of our favorite quotes of all time from racing during the
yes,
All-Star race last year, where they interviewed him afterwards and they said, you know, that was amazing. Like, how'd you feel or something? Like, we had so much fun. He was like, well, I'm glad you had fun, but I'm pissed off.
that
So,
was amazing. They were like, "What'd you think of that race? That race was so much fun to watch." And he was like, "Well, I'm glad you had fun because I'm pissed off."
which is still my favorite
It is a
thing to
really funny
say
quote.
anytime.
We use that quite a bit. Yeah, Joey Logano, and I think Penske as a whole. I mean, because Ryan Blaney's been the only one at Penske that's been kind of carrying the
Winning.
flag, uh, which he typically is. But
Yeah.
Except for today. Today he had a rough day. Penske had a rough day. The highest running Penske driver actually was Austin Cindric, who finished 12th. So
Because Blaney got sent to the back because his pit crew fucked him
yeah, Blaney's pit crew.
yet again.
Yet again, Blaney's pit crew. He's got the worst pit crew in NASCAR. It's documented. Television talks about it.
Hmm.
They did get a new jackman, who I think is coming from Josh Berry's team, if I heard that correctly. Just anyway, new jackman, but he could not be there at the race today for personal reasons. So they had another jackman, and they still had trouble in the pits. He ran over AJ Allmendinger coming out of the pits, but they didn't really have much of a problem. But they definitely
No.
struggled on one of the stops, and yeah,
They
just
had
kind of
no, they
up
had
there.
another stop. I think you were out of the room. They had another stop where they needed something fixed and they had too many men over the wall,
That's what it was. They
according
got
to
a penalty.
NASCAR. Yeah.
Damn, damn. So yeah,
Yeah.
Penske as a whole has been
PSA
struggling.
to Roger Penske, please, for the love of God, just give him Joey Logano's pit crew.
Yeah, I know they're really good. They're really good. They just don't have speed.
No.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Joey Logano, but and neither does Joey, I'm sure. But um, there's something is amiss because
Something is.
they have been running pretty poorly. But I tell you what, I tell you who's not running poorly, and that is pretty much every Toyota team.
Yeah.
Toyota, I think is sick of losing championships and not making the Final Four. And even though this year we won't have a Final Four, I don't think it's going to matter because I think Tyler Reddick's trying to win the championship before the playoffs even begin.
Which it
Um,
seems like he's going to have a good shot at if
I know.
Michael Jordan keeps coming out to the races. He seems
Yeah,
to be the lucky charm.
if I was 23-11, I don't. If I was Michael Jordan, I don't think I would go to every NASCAR race from now on because every time he goes to the track, they've won. They've won 5 races now with Tyler Reddick. 23-11 has. They've got the most wins. Um,
I think they said that
consistently.
was a record, right? Like the
Yeah, it's a
most
record
races ever won in the first 10 races or something like that.
since 1987. And I was trying to think of who that was, but I could not think of who that was that won all those races in 1987. That was 1 year before I was born. That might be something fun to look up, to see who that was. But I don't know who that was they were talking about. I was thinking in '87 who that could have been. That could have been um, Bill Elliott. It could have been Dale Earnhardt. It could be Darrell
Looks like it
Waltrip.
was Dale Earnhardt.
Okay,
He
I was about to
won
say
6 of the first 8 races, including 4 consecutive victories at Rockingham, Richmond, Darlington, and North Wilkesboro.
those are some Dale Earnhardt tracks right there. Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, like I was trying to think of who that was, and a couple of names were running through my mind. Dale Earnhardt was one of them that was running through my. Because I was trying to think of '87, who was hot in '87.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's incredible. I mean, because these races are so hard to win because of how competitive the field is now, and so the fact that 2311 has been able to come out, Tyler Reddick himself has been able to come out and win races. And let's not discredit, Bubba Wallace too has been running in the top 10, as well. So like the team as a whole has been doing good. Denny Hamlin's up front all the time too. And these are Toyotas. So Toyota right now is on the point. They definitely have figured something out. And going into the race, I told you I thought that Toyota was going to be strong. And when I picked my fantasy drivers, I put a lot of Toyota drivers on my I put a lot of Toyota drivers on my fantasy this week. And I just felt like Denny Hamlin was the driver that I had picked to win.
Yeah,
Um,
I thought he was going to win too.
and for a minute there, I was thinking I was like, I look like a damn genius. But yeah, I just had a feeling that track just lends itself well. I thought Kyle Larson would be the one guy that could stomp him because when it comes to running the wall, um, so this is funny. When it comes to running the wall, like when it's tracks like Homestead or any place where the outside line, like as close as you can get to the wall and the outside line is the faster groove, I
Yeah.
automatically think that Carl Larson. But I forgot how good Tyler Reddick also is at it.
Yeah.
Who's in a Toyota, and he showed that today for sure. But it was a really dull race, I think. Um,
Yeah. Up until like you said, the last like 20 laps or so, it was
It wasn't
Not
compelling.
all that interesting. Yeah.
No, whoever got out front took off. There was
Actually,
no.
didn't you kind of feel like even the announcers were struggling? Because there were periods of
Yeah,
silence on today's
they
broadcast,
didn't
and
know
I
what to
was like,
say.
uh,
There was one point where they literally started talking about barbecue. Clint Boyer brought like they had nothing else to talk about. They were like, uh, there's this really cool barbecue joint that I liked as a Midwesterner. Do you guys want to try it? I've got some here. They cut away to them. They're just sitting there trying to like eat burnt ends or something, and it's like, this is great. This is great. Um, yeah, it was a dull race. It was a dull race, admittedly. Nothing was really happening. They got spread out. Nobody was passing. I think they tried to make something out of the tire strategy, but even that was like kind of non-existent.
yeah,
But the ending paid off. If you stuck around for that race, the ending really paid off. I'll paint the picture. So, Tyler Reddick, short pits, what a brilliant strategy that was. And he's able to leapfrog Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, um, and get the lead. But, no, excuse me, it was Denny Hamlin who short pitted. Excuse me, I got that all wrong. Denny Hamlin short pits, gets out front. It's got like a 4 second lead when the pit
yeah,
cycle finishes around. Denny Hamlin's in front with 4 seconds to go. A 4 second lead with a handful of laps to go. And Tyler Reddick runs him down, passes him, and you kind of think it's over. But then Tyler Reddick, all of a sudden, he gets into the wall and he comes on the radio and starts talking about how he's out of gas. What'd you think about that? Did you think he
yeah.
ran out of gas? I guess he did. He
That
has to
was
switch him.
yeah, that was surprising. I mean, he did immediately fall back, and then he had to flip that switch, but uh, that was surprising because it didn't seem like we weren't hearing any chatter. Usually announcers will be like, teams are starting to talk about how they're running low on
There was,
gas or
yeah,
whatever.
there was no
There was
mention.
none of that.
I didn't even know there
Yeah,
was. I didn't even know that was going to be a problem that they might have not gotten the tank fuel the full. I didn't even know that was going to be a
yeah.
thing.
It was
But
odd.
but yeah, Tyler Reddick gets into the wall. Denny Hamlin goes back by him. 2 laps to go. Denny Hamlin is coming off of turn 4. All he has to do is get the white flag, and the next flag ends it. Cody Ware spins out right before he can get to the start finish line, thus meaning the caution comes out and the race is going into extra laps. And I
Yeah,
just knew. So Denny Hamlin has the worst luck when it comes to that kind of stuff. I've seen Denny Hamlin lose so many races because the caution came out, and he complains about it on his show all the time. And
yeah.
I remember him,
Including the championship last year.
including the championship last year, and I remember him saying something within the last week or two on his podcast, saying that like he tells his crew chief, if the race is ever boring, if there's not enough cautions, if anything happens, anything, NASCAR's going to throw a caution to make the race interesting.
Yeah,
And when I saw that car spinning, and even though that car spun out and went down to the infield and was off the track, I was like, they're throwing a caution because this has been a shit race. And that's exactly what happened. And I just started
yeah.
like laughing internally because I was like, Danny Hamlin gets bit again by a late
It's
race
so
caution.
annoying, though. I mean, I'd be pissed off if I were him.
Yeah,
They
he
could have
seemed,
waited 5 seconds
yeah,
and he
just to
would
get the
have
white flag
won.
and then throw the caution.
Yeah,
But anyway, they all have to pit. Um, the first 10 cars all take 2 tires. Chase Briscoe is the first person who takes 4 tires. Um, and we're going to see just how good that ends up being. The restart was crazy. Denny Hamlin gets going. Kyle Larson drops below him. They're 4 wide going into the first turn. But it was Christopher Bell, wasn't it, who had the best run on the outside and kind of got to the front? Wasn't it him or was it Kyle Larson?
he started to, but then he got into Reddick, I
And
think,
he hit the wall.
and then he also got into Denny,
That's right. He came down the track and nearly took out the 11.
and it looked like Larson was actually going to get ahead and win the race, but Reddick
Right.
recovered.
That's right. That was crazy because Larson, because everybody's wrecking behind him,
Yeah.
Larson gets like a huge lead, like a second and a half lead. It looked like several car lengths going into turn three, but I guess he was plowing tight and couldn't get the car to rotate. So he goes into the corner in the car. He's turning, but the car is washing up, and he has to wait on the car to start turning before he get to the gas. Tyler Reddick does not. Tyler Reddick, to the naked eye, closes the gap. Just you could just tell he was standing in the gas, and that car
Yeah.
was gripping, and just blows right by the five. Like that was insane watching that.
Yeah.
So Tyler Reddick goes on to win the race. Very, very exciting finish. And Chase Briscoe, by the way, who took those four tires, who ran 10th, 11th, 12th all day long, restarts 11th with four tires. He finishes third. So good call to take the four tires and kind of maximize on a points day that wasn't going to be all that great.
Yeah, for sure. Plus he got, lucky with Bell just washing out the way he did on that
Yeah,
on
Bell ate
that
shit
turn.
for sure. And then
Yeah.
he like spun out. He spun out coming to the white flag, and NASCAR didn't throw a caution for that. So he just kind of spun out and puttered on along. And where did Christopher Bell end up? Let's see where the old boy he ended up 20th,
Well,
having
still did better
taken
than
the
Joey
white flag.
Logano.
Yeah, he did finish better than Joey Logano. Yeah, poor Joey.
Where did
Poor.
Blaney finish after all that?
So Ryan Blaney ended up 24th today, which is not going
Yikes.
to be a good points day for him because Blaney came into the points. Well, he came into Kansas second in points. Tyler Reddick was the point leader, obviously, and he increases that point lead. I do think this is funny. Do you think this is interesting that NASCAR fans were complaining about the chase format of how it's been with the playoffs and how people get eliminated and those kinds of things. And this is the first year that NASCAR is going back to this more traditional point system. And the first year they do it, it's looking like it could just be a runaway. Do you think that's interesting?
It is kind of interesting. But I mean, it also gives people what they've said they've wanted, which is like if you spend your season winning, you
You
should
should
be
be
the
the champion.
champion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I agree. I just think it's funny because I can almost hear it now that NASCAR fans are going to complain about how boring the championship season was because NASCAR fans are never satisfied about anything. Trust me, if you want to know, just look at NASCAR's Instagram page. They fight about everything on NASCAR's Instagram page. In the comment section, they're never satisfied with anything. So
Yeah.
if you have, the playoff format, they're like, the playoff format sucks because the driver who was better that year didn't win. And that's true. I felt that way too. Um, and now they're like, okay, we're going to go back to the one where the points matter, and they're going to run away with it. Because in 2003, NASCAR fans complained that Matt Kenseth won the championship that year, having only won one race, but he was very consistent. Now Tyler Reddick is clearly the better driver. He's won 5 races out of the 10, and we
Yeah.
still have a long ways to go in the season. But I just think I can hear NASCAR fans now almost complaining that it wasn't close enough. It wasn't awesome. I don't know.
Wasn't as exciting as they wanted it to be.
Wasn't as exciting. I can almost hear them saying that. But I hope they don't because I really do like the point system the way it currently is. I do like what the changes they've made.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of points, you're still behind me in our fantasy league,
Okay.
but
By how much?
well, I don't think that today's scores have been tabulated in, but what we had was 1687 to 1467.
Okay. Yeah. So they definitely have mentality
So
because that's what I had. I was like 200 some points behind you going into today's.
yeah,
Who did
but
you Who did you have on your fantasy team? Do you have that?
let
Let me
me
pull up mine too.
yes.
I had so today I had Tyler Reddick, I had Kyle Larson, I had Ty Gibbs, Bubba Wallace, and Carson Hocevar. And I had Ryan Blaney. I put him in the garage, um, just because of the way things were going.
I had Priest, Bubba, Ty Gibbs, Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin, and then I had Daniel Suarez in the garage.
Yeah, I don't know if I We
I
both
don't
had
think
Tyler.
today's going to be the day when you catch up, but
Mm-mm.
I'm running out of the drivers that I usually pick.
That's
So
true.
I'm going to have to make some interesting choices. Now, of course, next week we have Talladega,
Dang.
and it's going to be
That's
a
gonna be a
free for all.
crapshoot.
So I might just pick at random at
I think
Talladega,
I will.
to
I
be
actually think
honest.
I might. I think for Talladega, I might spend some just picking some back marker dudes who I'm gonna assume are gonna miss the big one and get like their first top 10 finishes of the season and only top 10 finishes of the season. That's
Yeah,
kind of that might be what I try. Um, I did have so for the bonus points. Oh man, I lost this too. I put Ty Gibbs would have a better day than Bubba Wallace, which he did not. Bubba Wallace
I
had the
picked
better
Bubba.
day. Yes, he beat me there. I had Chase Elliott having a better day than Chastain. Won that.
I had that too.
I had Tyler Reddick beating Kyle Larson. Thank God. I won
Same,
that.
as did I.
And I had Ryan Blaney beating William Byron, which I did not have.
And I had that too.
So you beat me. So you did score bonus points on the Bubba Wallace
Yeah,
Ty Gibbs matchup.
yep.
Yeah. So I lost. I lost that too. Sucks. I can't get it right, man.
Like
I
I
can't
said
get it
though,
right.
mid season here, we're gonna have
It's gonna get
some
interesting.
interesting times.
We're gonna
Yeah,
have we're gonna have like battles between like Zane Smith and Connor Zilich.
yeah. Riley
Yeah.
Herbst.
Riley Herbst. Hey, can I talk about Corey Heim real quick? Corey
Yeah, go
Heim
for it.
had a really solid day. This is only like his second cup race. I think he's participated in second or third for sure. Um, ran really well at Daytona. He was in the Daytona 500. I think he got a top 10 there. Definitely ran up front. Was in the mix. And then today, he started pretty far back, but he finishes inside the top 15. All 2311 cars finish inside the top 15. So that organization is just on it, even when it comes to
Nice.
their B and C drivers. So Corey Heim, I think could be the real deal. And I hate saying that because every time I've said, or anytime anybody ever says that this driver is going to be the real deal, they never end up being that right off the bat. But I really do feel like Corey Heim could be, that kid could be the real deal because he won like 11 races last year in the truck series, wins that championship. Clearly has a lot of talent. The fact that he doesn't have a full-time ride this year is an absolute travesty.
It's crazy.
Um, you know, I was keeping an eye on how he would perform against Riley Herbst. And Riley Herbst finished 13th or something like that. So they're equal because I was telling you earlier that if I was 2311, I might punt Riley Herbst and put Corey Heim in that car. But Riley
Yeah,
Herbst is doing just about as good as Corey Heim did. But yeah, I'm,
but
I'm
he
really
does
impressed with
have
Corey
a
Heim.
ride every week. So
Mm,
what could Corey Haim do if he had a ride every week?
I know.
Be
I think he's
interesting.
good.
Yeah.
Remember that name, kids. Corey Heim. Corey Heim.
All right. Well, anything else you want to bring up before we call it?
No, we got Dega. Um, Dega should be fun and wild. I'm thinking the Fords. This is the chance that they need because the Fords are always really really good at these type of tracks, and Ford has not performed in the last couple of weeks. So they really need probably something like this. But who knows what's going to happen at Dega? Cletus, I think, is going to be back running the ARCA series. He ran an ARCA this week at Kansas, was running in the top 10 when his engine blew. But it sounds like he was doing really well until that happened, and that's not his fault. Finching, let's go. So, but yeah, Dega should be fun.
We might have to
That's all
take
I got.
bets on who causes the big one.
Oh yeah, who causes the big one? I don't know.
All right. Well, if you have ideas about who's going to cause the big one at Talladega or any thoughts on Candace, as always,
John
feel
Hunter
free.
Nemechek.
Causes the big one. Interesting. All right. I'm still going to go with TJ Majors.
PJ Majors is a good pick.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Kozlowski accidentally
Keselowski.
causes the big one due to TJ. That's
Keselowski
always
has
my pick.
Yeah, Keselowski has caused his fair share of incidents at Daytona and Talladega. Yep, he certainly has.
All right. Well, I think that's it for us. As always, new episodes of From the Pits come out Tuesday at 6 a.m. as well as the full Mildly Alarmed podcast. So you can find us on YouTube, YouTube Music, and Spotify. Until next week.